Hey, did you miss the latest episode of The Pulse? Well, no worries. You can watch digital humans expert Mike Seymour and industry leaders from Sony Pictures Imageworks, Skydance Media, Brood, and 3 Lateral discuss the recent advancements in real-time digital humans, now on demand via the Unreal Engine YouTube channel. Also now available on YouTube are the incredible presentations from our partners BMW, Pagani, General Motors, and more who shared their stories at Unreal Build Automotive. This week, we welcome creators from around the world to join us for a showcase of the latest developments in HMI and innovations in the automotive industry. If you missed the show or would like to re-watch the presentations, pop over to our YouTube channel. And released during the event, you can now easily build your own digital showroom with our new free Automotive Configurator sample. Download the scene and go under the hood to explore all the powerful Unreal Engine features used to create photorealistic, interactive experiences for automotive and manufacturing. Are you cruising for good deals? Then race over to the Unreal Engine Marketplace for 50% off automotive-themed products, along with hundreds of other discounted environments, effects, and more. Shop the March sale now through Friday, March 26th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. The power to create belongs to everyone, and Manticore Games is helping make game development accessible to more people with Core, a digital playground and community designed to unleash imagination and explore new play experiences. Learn more about the free gaming platform and Manticore's vision on the Unreal Engine feed. A bold pitch to NASA has resulted in the most immersive space project ever created. For the first time, anyone can board the International Space Station and even walk in space with the help of VR and a breathtaking new exhibit thanks to Montreal-based immersive entertainment studio Felix and Paul. Discover what it took to get this unique project off the ground. Changing any part of a city can quickly result in heated opinions and debate. Learn how a group of students from South Dakota State University used generative game design to bridge the communication gap and bring the community and designers closer to a shared vision. And now over to our top weekly Karma earners. Many thanks to Grumble Bunny, Every Nun, Clockwork Ocean, Nacho Monkey, Grimya, I Am Ravanan, K. Kachis, Kahale18, Jim DeBrouwer LL, and Nosvik. Our first spotlight this week is from 3D artist Z Jian. The atmospheric and thoughtful short film Origin shares the story of a team of astronauts derailed during hyperspace into an unknown starfield. What they uncover on the other side? You'll have to find out for yourself when you watch the full piece on Z Jian's ArtStation. If you're seeking more adventure, check out Heim, a puzzle game taking inspiration from Norse mythology. An unexpected visitor turns Asher's home life upside down. When the time comes, use your wits and acquire magical abilities to regain your home. Learn more and wishlist Heim on Steam. Should you be looking for something to do this week, check out IWOCon, an unconventional convention hosted by the Indie World Order to celebrate and showcase indie games from around the world. The pirate-themed, free-to-play app, built in Unreal Engine, sails from March 26th to April 2nd. Secure your passage to the event today. Thanks for watching this week's News and Community Spotlight.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Unreal, a weekly show where we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I'm your host, Victor Broden, and today I would like to welcome back our guest and technical evangelist, Andrea Suka.
Hi. Yeah, nice to be back.
You look
Really
a little
cool.
different today from last time.
Why? Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, home office and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah. So oh shit, I'm naked. Is this okay to be naked on stream on Twitch? No worries.
You
right?
have a coat, so I guess so.
Okay. Hello,
all right,
chat.
it's okay.
Okay.
Hey
so
everyone.
Welcome. So I think this is a perfect opener. We decided to do this strange thing, even if it's not absolutely perfect. My lips are not completely synced because my iPad right now is not wired up, so it's on wireless. But it sets the tone for the stream, right? Because you reached out and said, let's do something chill and fun.
Yeah, and yes, and so today we're going to talk about sort of a bunch of different topics that we planned, a couple of projects that you put together as well. We're, among others, going to show off how you're currently putting that together. Not go into too much detail. We already actually have a couple of video tutorials and documentation on how you can use LiveLink Face App to drive a virtual avatar, which is currently what Andreas is doing.
Yeah, so the setup here is I have an iPad with a LiveLink app, and then I have the engine running. And actually, the credits go to Christian Andrade, a colleague of mine from South Africa. He did this first. And then I took his project, improved it a bit, and gave it to someone else with an Epic who is improving it a bit. So we are now 3 or 4 people like working on that. So unfortunately, I can only move my head here. I have a little bit. Yeah.
If you were to add a like a Vive tracker or something else to your chest, you could also get and drive more of the bones.
Yeah. Yeah, what I have here is now a leap motion. So what I want to try next is to rig him in a way that I can have a leap motion and then moving his hands with key moving the body. So like a puppeteer. That's the idea. Okay, so let me switch first back. So that takes some clicks now. I hope this is working. This is, as always, with this kind of stuff. It's always danger it goes wrong. Okay. So I think it's better.
Welcome. There you are.
It's still me. It's the same. I just put on some clothes. That's all.
It's like a wizard. Quick tricks.
Okay.
Cool.
So let me end the project here. Yeah. So today will be maybe different than the last ones we did here on the stream. Because we decided to do the animation is better. Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Okay, so the idea is we go through different projects, right? And show a little bit here and there and talk a little bit more interactive about it.
Yeah, and you have a
couple
couple
high poly now. I think that's just your stream. That depending on where in the world you are, maybe you have better resolution now. The SSS is weird on his skin. I'm sorry.
It's actually the meerkat driving a human meta-human rig right now.
So oh, wait a second. Shit, I've closed the project. I could have shown that. It's kind of funny because or maybe I should show it. Give me a second. I will fire it up. It's kind of funny because the setup wasn't really complicated. So and you can see that I hijacked the whole scene. So let's take a look behind the curtain. That was not really planned for the stream, but maybe.
Yeah, we can just break it down a little bit.
Yeah, we can briefly check it out. It's a little bit duct tape. So, but basically, this is really the Meerkat project as you can download it. And the only thing I did is you have this here, which I have in full screen, and then having OBS capturing that and sending that through Discord. But the funny thing is, this is how it really looks like. Okay, I always love that. So okay. I admit it's all fake. Okay, I'm not in Germany. I'm actually in Serengeti, and we're doing the stream from there. So that's it. Yeah, and it's just a picture of from my camera, actually pretty old one. So that's one part.
It would be fun to see you sort of walk out of your set and into the natural environment. I mean, that's where a meerkat would have their set, right? Just sort of outside their den.
So now, just to be aware, a naked meerkat doesn't really look. The naked meerkat is here. So and there's not much that's done. So there's basically some curves. You adjust in the anim blueprint, and then there is in the anim graph, you have this modify curve thing, and here's a live link post. So here's the live link coming in, and that one has a retargeting asset, and this retargeting asset is where the most work were. So it has different curves to drive the animations, the Meerkat and the live link. And here you just say, okay, here's the curve coming in, and then remapping it to something else on the Meerkat. So that was a little bit of the work. And then you get the data in, and then you can use this with a little bit of math. Here's a head pitch roll with a little bit clamping, and then you modify the pose of the head. So that's basically it. From the concept part of you. But as usual with this kind of stuff, it takes a bit of time to find the right values and tinker with that and stitching it and it can be still done better than this. But yeah, that's a nice thing. Okay, so and they were it was a little bit off because the iPad in wireless here in my environment is not fast enough. If I have it, using network, a LAN adapter, then it's actually pretty fast and in sync.
And I mentioned this in chat, but the Meerkat, the skeleton mesh, was not rigged with facial mocap in mind, right? And so you can get a better result, sort of, and better sync between human lips and whatever you are trying to drive, whether it's a virtual humanoid or a animal or something like that, if you actually rig and skin the assets to be used for something like that. So Andreas showed a little bit of the sort of animation blueprint retargeting there.
Yeah, it's not really done for that, so it's a bit stitched together. On the other hand, and there's even some stuff that's going wrong, what you couldn't see, for example, is that his jaw is not really moving correctly. So he actually had really teeth, but the teeth doesn't move correctly. I didn't fix that yet. So yeah, there's different. If you really do it for that, that's completely different from hijacking characters. It's meant for something completely different. But it works surprisingly well, and it's kind of fun. Okay. So yeah, we don't have an agenda where we like rush through. So as we said before, our idea is just to show here and there some little tricks and stuff you can do, and hopefully this is inspiring or helping with your project. But especially today, feel free to ask anything in chat. So in comparison with the last streams, we might go a little bit more like we show something, then we talk, then we show something else, and then we talk, and then at the end we have a little bit of a surprise, of an interactive surprise for everybody to participate in, and then we can do Q&A there for bigger things. Okay, so we start?
Yeah, you got the floor.
Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is this famous camera shaky thing. So when I was working on this project, which was for a feature talk about Control Rig, I made this character in Blender and then animated it completely in Engine. And each time I looked at it and I walked around with him. I'm not an animator, so my animation is kind of okay-ish, but not really like perfect and dynamic enough. And it felt so, it didn't feel heavy. So I was trying to get it a little bit more like weight to it. And instead of trying to fix animation, I added some camera shake. So, I mean, that's one thing a lot of people do. And I want to show this setup, which is extremely simple. Because what I basically do is when we take a look on the animation, let's go to the animation and the walk. So when you have the animation here and he's walking, what I did is I added some custom notifiers. So you can have notifiers and fire them. There are stuff like play a particle effect or play a sound. But you can also have own notifiers, which I added here. So I have one that's called Shake Walk. And then I synced it with the moment he is stomping on the ground. So that's how I can sync the animation with that. And then in the animation blueprint itself, in the event graph, you can then look for animation notifiers. And then you can find this, and then I have the Shake Walk, which is just firing. So in this case, I'm grabbing the player camera manager, which manages all the camera stuff for us, taking the location of that, and then I'm playing a camera shake. Let's take a look at the camera shake, which is an asset. So you can go here, right click, and then you can create this asset. And I have made two different ones. So I have made one that is when you open up this asset, you have different values you can do. So you have rotational acceleration, you have locational acceleration, like really like moving the camera like that, or like rotational is like the three angles of the camera to accelerate around. And then you have a duration and a blend time in and out. And something I figured out when doing this is in 3D, the rotation works better than the lateral ones. In 3D, it feels much better if you have that. We can take a look. So I have both. So right now I have the rotational one. So let's play that again. It's subtle. So I also encourage people. We talk. You see a lot of talks about game juice and stuff, and it's always about camera shakes and a lot of camera shakes. But for me, it is more the subtle stuff. So it's like you can see it more when you look at the borders of the screen, that the camera is a little bit shaking. But it's not. If it's too much, then you get really fast annoyed by it. So it is really subtle. So this one is a rotation. And if I go to the locational one, which is moving the camera, I'm not sure if it's really as visible on a stream than it is when you play the character here on screen. But now the camera is really going left, right, up and down. And that feels more impact, and that also feels very often wrong. And if you get close to something, like if I go here, like, then it even gets, now I have collision on for the camera arm, but it very easily you intersect with the environment. And that's the reason why I personally in 3D prefer rotational, while in 2D games you often prefer lateral movement. So that's one thing. And then let's a little bit go into that. So you have the amplitude, the frequency, but what's also interesting is the initial offset. So where does it start? I start at 0, so where the camera is, instead of having a random thing, because if it's a random, then it starts somewhere, and that already feels off. And then for waveforms, you can have a Zener wave or a Perlin noise, but Perlin noise works quite well for me. And in this case, as you can see, I'm only rotating around the pitch, so I'm only doing this because he's stomping, so it's more like that. So
and the purpose of these camera shakes, it's to sort of enhance the immediate experience of the action that the character is taking, right?
Yeah, for me, that was the easiest way to give him a little bit more weight. So instead of trying, as I said, I'm not an animator, so my animation, instead of tinkering with the animation and try to make him like stomp, it was easier to add this little thing to make him feel like he has some weight. And I think what's important is, if you make it for a game, that you can make it. Hello, Victor. You're back.
I'm here.
The aunt cam now. Okay, cool.
That was interesting.
Yeah, what Jimmy is missing is just saying in Twitch chat is absolutely right. I think if you make a game you want to release, you should be having the option to disable that. That makes people sometimes seasick. That's one problem, and there are people who are can digest that easier than others. And especially if you're not sure. I mean, in the best case, you have a slider and you can say how much of that I want. I could feed this information in. So you have a fall of inner radius and outer radius. So right now that's a world camera shake. So you have different ways to play a camera shake. So I play a world camera shake at the position of the camera with an inner and outer radius. You can play it somewhere else. That's one thing. Then another way is to start a camera shake and to stop it. So like for an ongoing thing. And here you have even a scale. And this scale, for example, you could feed in a variable. And this variable you could put in a menu, and then you have a slider. So I think it's important to think about for who you do it, not overdoing it. Camera shakes is something that is kind of cool, but on the other side, with great power comes also great responsibility. So be careful to use this.
Had a question from let me see here. I saw it earlier. whether or not, I think someone was just curious exactly where you put the animation notify. It's in the animation itself, right?
Yeah, yeah. So here's my walk animation, which is I made this in engine with control rig, but even if it comes from outside, that doesn't matter. You have the notifies. You have curves you can add. I could have a curve here with values. I could ask. So, for example, the colleague of mine, Mario, did animation with a sword fight, and then he had a curve that was driving a smear effect. So you can use the curves for stuff. The notifies are just telling. It's just like firing in this moment, and then you can react on that. You can also react on that in Blueprint. So I made a space game, and there we had each time when you land on a planet, there were a little ship detached, and that was in an animation, and it was flying towards the planet. And in the animation itself, the designer could say, in this moment, I want to blend over and load the next level. So that was a notify, and that gave the designer full control, but the whole logic is somewhere else. So yeah, you can have own ones, and you can have particular ones. So I could, for example, pretty easily say here when he's stomping, let's also fire. Let's do that just for fun. Particle effect. So if I select this now, I can add. Okay, I don't have one here right now. Let's see. Do we have one in engine? A simple explosion sounds absolutely proper for him. So we do a simple explosion, and we could now play it on a socket. I don't have that, so he will play it there. But if we now walk around, let's see if this works. Yeah. So he's playing each time with the left leg. He's playing now a little explosion when walking. So this is how you would, for example, make dust or something when running around. So the notifies are great, are a great way. So let's get rid of this to give the designer or the one who's doing the animation a good control over what else is happening. You looking for the questions, right? I also try to look for the questions a bit.
I got you. We're putting them all on a doc and keeping an eye on them. Let's see, specifically reset.
There's a question about the grass. I want to answer that. I did all the characters and stuff. The scene, my colleague Aaron helped me, and I actually hijacked parts of his project he has shown here in stream about accessibility, which is, in my opinion, one of the underrated streams. You really should look at the video for it. Aaron is talking about all the stuff you're doing about accessibility and what the engine has to offer for that. And he borrowed also the chicken, which is actually the next thing I wanted to show. That's nice. I thought it looked like the chicken grass. It is a chicken grass, yes. It is a chicken grass.
I'm linking the video.
Yeah, I have also his. Here's his chicken. So, because he allowed me something to do with his chicken, I talked with him this morning and I asked him if I can have his chicken. He said it's okay. I said, but I want to slice it. So I made this little slicer material, so we can slice the chicken now. So did you ever want to know how a chicken looks from inside? It's like this. So yeah, that's actually the next thing I want to show. That's by the way, for the guys who just joined in or here for some time now, this is the way we will do it tonight. We will, or for me tonight, for you, like, what's the time right now for you? I forgot.
It's 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. So yeah, we go through weird stuff. So this effect I made for as a printing effect. So I made a 3D printing thing. So we can print 3D chickens now. Like, so there it is. And I want to briefly show it. And as said, we will just go through random stuff today and show this kind of things. What I want to show here is the power of material functions. So basically what's happening here is this plane here, the rotation of the plane, so the up vector is my normal, and the position of the plane is giving me control over the material and how it's cut. So if I, that's how. So this is basically, we start with a blueprint. So it's a very simple blueprint, and I use construction script, so it's working in editor. And what it basically does, it takes this position and then writing it to a parameter collection. So let's take a look on a parameter collection. It's basically just a collection of data of vectors and scalar parameters, where you can store data in. And then the beauty of this is you can read it from everywhere. So I can write it from everywhere and I can read it from everywhere. So the blueprint is writing here two things: the location and the normal. So that's what it's doing here. It's taking the location of the actor and then putting it in the parameter location, and then it's using the up vector and putting it in under normal. And this is just for me, I enable the slicing, so it's not happening like everywhere. So that's basically it. That's how I write to that. So let's take a look on the material. So I asked Aaron with this because my my character I made here is not watertight. So if I go inside of him, you can see it's just like spheres and stuff stitched together. And that doesn't work so well with that one. It's easier if you have one model with one material. My character, that's not the best case you do it, but this has 4 or 5 materials. His has only one, so it makes it a bit easier. So if we take a look at the material, it is just a texture here for the base color. Let's forget about the rest. It's not even used right now. So that's basically it. There's roughness, and then the only thing I changed from Aaron's setup is I switched the material shading blend mode from opaque to mask to get access to a mask. And then I'm using, and I made it two-sided. And here's my function. So if we, you can add these functions for reuse. And if I open this up, this is the whole magic with the slicing. So let's go briefly through it. So 2 outputs. One is emissive and the other one is a mask. And let's take a look at the mask first. So here comes my data in. So I have the location here and I have the normal we just saved. And then as this is a vector 4 vector and I need a 3 vector, I mask it. And then for the location, I subtract it from my current absolute vert position here. I do a dot product between normal and that vector. Then I clamp it. And that's basically it. The enable slice is just for me to control if I want to have it the slicing on or off. And that spits out the mask. And here comes the two-sided part in. So I can put in an input parameter. In this case, it's an input emissive. Here's a default one. So if I don't put something in, it's an optional one. I multiply it by, so I divide it by half because of the emissive. And then if I'm inside, so I take the two-sided sign. If I'm inside, I'm using this. So basically, I'm faking a little bit a plane inside. So if we take a look here, let's move this. It's easier. So this is how it's basically done. Multiple sliced chicken, and that's what I like is this effect. So the chicken looks completely normal if you look from here. But if you turn around, so I was talking with Aaron this morning to make like chicken McNuggets or something like interior from the other side. It is doable. It's just like I didn't have the time this morning to finish this. But this is really cool. And this is a kind of handy thing. So first of all, it's a nice effect, yes. But what I like is this kind of method of communicating. So that's what I want to do today. Show a little bit how stuff is interconnected, not just showing one big feature or something, more like how can you beautifully use some stuff together. So using the parameter connection to store data and then use it in a function which you then can use in several materials is kind of a nice thing, and maybe that sparks some ideas for your projects. So yeah, no chicken, half chicken, full chicken. Yeah, that's it. So, Victor, any questions? Do you want half a chicken? Should we share a chicken?
I'll take half a chicken.
Okay, which
I don't
part? Do
think I
you
could
want
eat a
the
whole one.
upper part, the lower part, left side, or right side?
I'll go for the lower part.
The lower part. Okay.
Yeah, lower
I
part.
will send that to you. So this is mine. Wait a second. I give you you get. So you want the lower part? That means like this.
Yeah, it's the meatiest part, right? Looks like
Okay,
there's.
yeah, that's definitely the best part of the chicken.
There was a question from Z Positive who is wondering if it works for a skeletal mesh as well, which the chicken is actually.
The chicken is a skeletal mesh. It doesn't care. It's just it is actually, let me try to show something. So this one has too many materials, but here, for example, this is a static mesh. And we have only one material here. So let's open this material. Okay, so here is this material. So what we to do this, so it doesn't matter if it's a skeletal mesh or whatever. It's only important what kind of material it is. So if I now set this one to mask, set it to two-sided, and go to my chicken material. Where is it? There. Let's grab this and copy this over. And then we just do mask. And we do emissive. And I plug this in to have the same color. So let's save. And then he compiles and computes the shaders. But now we should be able to see something. Hopefully. Here we go. So now I have, I can slice my, and for this one, it's even working better because here, I mean, currently I have also the shadow inside, so you could mask out more. I could also use spit out other parameters to make this better. But this is that's working for all. This is really cool. I'm not a material guy, just to be sure. I'm not a technical artist. I'm more a game designer. So for me, this kind of stuff is, you see, now it's working everywhere where this material is, which shows that the material is also used here, just in another color. So this is kind of fun. Yeah, so we're slicing everything now. Hopefully after this stream, I have some time to clean up my projects after we messed up everything here. Yeah. Any other question regarding that? I don't hear you.
Sorry, my foot pedal. I was muted. Hoth Hunkman was asking if it's possible to add a fading effect to the material and how one would potentially go about doing that.
Yeah. Again, I can say I'm not the best person to. I get this basic stuff working, and then I'm one of those guys who go back and forth. But what I think what you have to do is here right now I'm cutting like hardly, but I think you can do a bias and you can even make a transition, and then you have a transition instead of having a hard cut. I wouldn't like to try it here on camera now because that's something I could fiddle. I have to fiddle also a bit, but what's happening here comes a 0 to 1 a clamp value, but I'm pretty sure here you can do kind of a biased thing where you like blend over instead of having a hard cut at this position.
Loresh was asking, could you walk us through briefly on how you would implement something like this in an actual game? Would you always have it in your materials or swap materials when the effect is playing, etc.?
Okay, this comes from an actual project I'm working on, which is with I can say so much. It's about a little robot, and you can print new robots. That's where I did it for. And there I don't have a plane. I don't even have the normal because I don't need that. I don't need this part. So the only thing I'm having is I having actually just a vector going from, it's animated with a timeline going from bottom to top. We will show that project soon. So, but that was for printing, like really fast, like doing this, having some particles around that. So that's one way you can do it. I mean, there are several use cases. The question is always, what do you manipulate and where does the data come from? And currently, I have the data coming from this blueprint, but it could come from everywhere. I could even animate that. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you were looking to sort of slice and be able to interact with the different sliced pieces, essentially have them simulate, you should look into the procedural mesh component, which Aaron, who made the chicken, also did a live stream on. I'll go ahead and link that in chat.
Yeah, Aaron is doing great stuff. So yeah, but I used it for kind of a 3D printing effect. You can use it for other cases. It's not. I'm showing that not particular because of this really nice effect. I'm talking more about the basic idea about how can you, like with the anim blueprint before, you can set anims there and then fire it somewhere else, and how this is nicely connected. And here you have the parameter collection and the material function. You can easily, as you just saw, can easily plug in other things as well. And then depends on your use case where who's driving this. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. We can continue.
Okay. So the next thing, first of all, I think I get rid of this, which also means I get rid of everything. That was maybe not. So let's get that back. Another thing I want to show is something I made with a character here. Because as you can notice, my character has a face. And he has different eyes. And for him, I wanted him to be able to have some kind of facial expression. But again, when you do a project alone, that's kind of challenging to have facial expression on your game. But what I basically did with the eyes, so maybe we go first to the material instance, so I can show first the result. I have a parameter here for the mood. So here's different moods. This is normal mood, and this is his. I would say he's a little bit sad. He's suspicious. He's kind of happy. He's even more suspicious. He's looking on the ground and he is like, okay, now he's getting crazy. He's like, what? He doesn't trust you. He begins to get angry and even more angry. And maybe he's drunk, I don't know. So this is beyond drunk.
Tot.
This is timeout. And this is reloading. And then we are at the start. So I have this one parameter driving that. And this is also something quite neat. What it basically does is, when we take a look in the material again, it is using a flipbook. So here's a flipbook that's telling me the UVs. And I can feed in, which it's normally done for animation in 2D. But in my case, what I do is the animation phase here is a scalar parameter, and then I give the number of rows and columns. So basically, number of rows and columns, when we take a look on the atlas I'm using, so here is the texture I'm using. So it's basically just a 4x4 same space texture with all the different moods. And then here in the eyes, I say, okay, rows are 4, columns are 4, and then I multiply it, which is 16. I divide 1 by 16, and then I multiply it with the parameter I'm giving in. This gives me the position here. I'm using the texture coordinates, and that's the result. And here I'm just blending in a color and gives this into the emissive. That's all what's going on here. And in this way, I can now change the values here and have him look differently. So that's one part, which is already kind of neat. But the next one is you can drive this parameter also by animation, or I use it for control rig. So I show one step more. So he has this material which has this mood value. So let's go to his skeleton. So when we take a look at the skeleton, you can actually add curves here. So I added a curve I called mood. So you can go here, right click and add a curve. And then you have two different options. You can say it's a morph target curve or it's a material curve. So for me, it's a material curve. And as it is named mood, it's automatically going from here through all the materials and setting those values. So this is great because what I now could do is the same like for the animation, what we saw before. I could actually, in the walk animation, changing his curve. What I did, so let's take a look on his control rig. Because when we come to animation, it's kind of nice. Where do I want like animation? It's called. Don't get scared. It looks more complex than it is. I made a video of it. It just got released like last week or something on the Unreal channel about control rig and how this is set up. But I want particularly show this one because I really like that, and I couldn't show that too deep into the video. But what I have here is when you have the control rig, there's a curve container. I have it here. So I can import the curves from the skeletal mesh, and that brings in the mood curve I made in the skeleton. So I have that now, and now I can set this here with a control. So I have this control here. Let's go to the other one. I have two different rigs for him, one for real time and one for animation.
And just to clarify for those who are unfamiliar with control rig and they might think it's blueprints, this is a blueprint inspired virtual scripting sort of. It's a version of Blueprint that we use in control rig, so it's a little bit different from Blueprint. So you wouldn't be able to do setting these curve values, etc., in a regular Blueprint. You can only do that in control rig.
Yeah, you can expose them in animation Blueprint, and you could then from Blueprint itself feed it in. The control rig is for animation, and I use it for three different purposes. One is you can animate once you made your rig here. You can, oh, he's happy. You can make your. I can animate an engine, so I can use Sequencer, and I made all the animation in Sequencer, and I use it. The second case I actually have here. He is adjusting his foot and hip. So if I go here, you can see he's placing his foot on the ground, depending on the slope, and he's also doing some hip adjustments. So he's going down into his knees, which makes it he's much more grounded. So that's the second use case I'm using control rig for, which is he's playing his animation, but after he plays his animation, he's also solving IKEY and a little bit more elaborated stuff here. So for example, he's also looking at this flower. When he's coming close to the flower, he's looking at this flower. So while walking, so he's rotating his body to that. And if you look closely, he's also changing his eyes. That's what I wanted to show. So he's when he sees the flower, he's looking at the eyes, and otherwise he has his big eyes again. So that's the second use case, like a mix between animation, classical and linear animation, and then procedural stuff on top. And when you take a look at the flower, I use control rig for 100% procedural animation. So for the flower, I didn't do any animation by hand. It's completely in control rig. I'm just feeding in the position where the character is, and it's trying to aim there with a solver. So that's a skeletal mesh. And then the head is scaled up a bit, so it looks nice. Yeah. So, but for the eyes, when I have access to this curve, I can now change it here by control rig. I also could change it. So that's what he does here. So if he's looking at it, so let's unplug that. If he's looking at the flower, then he's changing his mood. That's basically it. So yeah, that's a nice thing. So this curves can be extremely handy, and you can again you can use them here. So I haven't done that, but I could now here do a curve, and then I could change the values here depending, I don't know if when he stomps, I could change his value, so he's like squeezing his eyes each time he stomps or whatever. I won't do it now, but that's basically how it goes.
You could combine it with your skeleton demo, so every time, ow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it for this project. There are several other things I would love to show, but I actually have prepared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different projects. So
come on, we can do a shameless plug, but Andreas frequently streams Unreal Engine content on his own Twitch channel, so go ahead and give him a follow there.
You are too kind. Yeah, but it's very often it's in German, and very often it's really strange stuff. So it is, it's not always work related. Okay, so do we have any questions here? Otherwise, I would switch.
Not related to Control Rig. We can continue on, and then I'll keep gathering all the questions for a more generic Q&A in the end.
Yeah. So let's just hope I didn't destroy my whole project. Yeah, come on, save. I didn't make any copy. I did what we always tell developers, please do version control. It's really important for you. Please go do version control. It's the worst if you don't have your stuff in version control. I don't have this project right now in version control. So yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, now I want to switch to a project I did with a friend on a game jam. And there are several things I like. So it was a 48-hour game jam project. It was called Stay Safe Jam. My friend, I did it together with this Dennis. We streamed the whole thing. We were lazy, so we only worked we are not 100%. We worked something like 16 hours on that. So it was more and some of the stuff here is duct taped. But it's one of the projects from last year I'm kind of proud of because it is kind of holistic and has everything you need, so including sound and music and little things. So I first show a little bit what it is, and then I show you 2-3 things. So it was we wanted to do something that's not about COVID. We wanted to stay away as far as possible, and the subject of the game jam was what's called what's in English? I forgot. What was it in English? It's like solidarity. I think that's the right English term, solidarity. So we were thinking about what's a good idea for that, and then we say, okay, holding people on the hands, and that's something you can't do right now. So that's what we did. So we did this character, can run around, and then you can just grab everybody and then bring them to safety. So that was a basic idea. So we have this guys, and if you get close, they show a little sign that you can interact with them, and then when you click on them, they have a so, and then we needed a little bit of a challenge, so we added these cute zombies that are running around, and when the zombies come close to someone, they bite them, and then they are zombies too. So we have some bugs in it. One bug I really like is I can go to zombie, grab his hand, and make him human again. We never fixed that, but that's kind of nice. So yeah, so this was a project that was really fastly done, and here are what I particularly loved is how fast we used a particle effect to do something. So let's start there. I'm more generalist, so I'm not if it goes really deep in some parts, then I'm completely lost. But I know most parts on a fast level. So let's take a look. So if now come really detailed Niagara particles, I cannot answer that. But what I can answer is how we did this hearts, because it's basically the simple sprite burst template we used, and then we just exchanged the material. So instead of having a round material, I brought in a texture, which is this, and then we made a material for that, which is a heart, the material is extremely simplistic. So it has an emissive color and an opacity coming from the alpha here, but the particle color is coming from the particle. So that's one part we did, and then the rest was just adjusting the stuff. So having the particle burst, and then having having the alpha scaled down, and having the color changed, and having the velocity from point, and that's all. So extremely fastly. I think we did this in like 5 minutes or something like that, and I always want to encourage people when they do prototypes. Very often prototypes look so simplistic. And it doesn't convey the feeling you have in the game. And it's actually so easy with the Unreal Engine to just you have a whole suite of all those tools. And if you know a little bit of everything, then it's so cool to just bring the stuff together very, very fast. And then we had this kind of, and it was good feedback, because in the moment you click it, you get this burst, you see something, and it's immediate. So it's not only for visual, it's also for kind of it is feedback for the player, so it adds to the feel. So yeah, the zombie when a zombie, let's see, when a zombie transfers, when a zombie converts, let's see, somewhere here, maybe can you convert him, please? Oh yeah, closer. Yes. So here again, it's also the zombie transfer effect. It's also the omnidirectional burst. It's also from a template, and I just changed the color and made the clouds go bigger and up instead of down. That's it, and it's so easy. It's really extremely easy. I don't have to know all the details here. It can be intimidating first, but I start there, and then you got interested and say, oh, can I do this? Can I do this? And then you can go deeper. So yeah, that's by the way, we did so we didn't want to make anything regarding COVID, but what happened is we made a test where we had like spawning a lot of human beings and just one zombie, and then we could see how it spread. So we could actually record a time-lapsed video of exponential growth. That was kind of, so we tried to stay away from it, but we could actually simulate. So we could show that if you stay far away from each other, then the zombies doesn't bite you so often. So that's good. Okay, so that was one thing. I want to show the next thing is a hand holding. That was where we started. So we said, let's make a game with people holding hands. Let's first test if how complicated it can be to make characters holding hands. So let's go to the animation blueprint. And the animation blueprint, the event graph is extremely straightforward. We just get the speed here, and I find out if he is a zombie or not. That's all. And then for the animation graph, the animation graph has only a default state machine, which has only an idle and run, and that's the most complicated part here, because we have a different zombie run idle, and we have a base character run idle blend space. And depending if he's a zombie or not, he's changing this different one. So the skeleton is the same, but we have two different meshes we use. So we have the base character and we have a zombie character, which have the same skeleton. So that's one part. As you can see here, stuff left that we didn't use. They should dance at the end. And we made it, but it was a bug, so I removed it like half an hour before we submitted the project. So that's not in. So, but that's basically it. And for the zombie itself, if he's attacking, he's playing an attack animation. So let's take a look at the hand holding. So first of all, the animation blueprint is telling the blueprint, the character blueprint is telling this animation blueprint if they hold hands. So if we go to the animation preview editor and I say hold hands, you can already see he is turning. The reason he's turning is we couldn't make own animation, so we used other animations here, but we needed one when they are holding hands. It would feel strange if he's like doing this, so we wanted to turn his body a bit. So that's what Transform Modify is doing. So in the moment he's holding hands, he's turning around, and then we have a 2 bone eye key for left and right hand. So if I take a look here, he is currently the position, but what I'm doing here is if there is an IK position, so in the moment I change this only slightly, you can see here's his hand here. Okay, he can, if I do it like, wait, this, no. Yeah, so we can wave to the chat. Hello, chat. So if it's not 0, then he's trying to grab that, and that he's doing for the left hand and the right hand. So that's all for the animation blueprint. So when we take a look at his actually the blueprint itself, here on tick, what we do is he's actually knowing if he has someone on the right or if someone on the left. So he has 2 variables. So the player character is telling him, hey, you have this guy on the left and you have this guy on the right. And depending if he has someone there, it's taking the hand sockets. So when we take a look on the character again, and let's go to the skeleton, then I use the hand socket for the left and the right hand. So he has the sockets, and that's what I'm using as a position. So when he's playing his animation, this is moving with him. So that's how I get where it is. And I'm just subtracting them, dividing them by 2. And then I have a little bit of an offset. So they reach not like on their hips, a little bit higher. And that's the left position I'm storing. And that's the same I do on the right side. So this is how it's done. So basically, it's averaging the between them. He's trying to grab in the middle between them both, between those both I keys. That also means if I like turn him around really like this, yeah, then he's grabbing through his own body. So it's not perfect. And you can also see my character can be the moving. So he's the reason why he is following the player, it's an absolutely simple move to AI node I'm using here. So there's no behavior tree, there's no complicated math. It's just like he's trying to reach the player's position. And that's the reason why when the player is shortly far away, then there is there's a gap. But that's fine. Oh, no, I lost him. Yeah, so that's basically how that works. So yeah, for the game jam, what was interesting is we started with a mannequin and only was grabbing the hands. And once we saw that is working, we said, okay, that's our game. So let's make a game around that.
Ship it.
At the beginning, we didn't had any goals. We didn't know what to do. We just said, okay, holding hands is nice. Let's try that technically, and if it's technically feasible. And then we made the characters, and then we made all the rest. That was a really pleasant experience.
You already covered what was most of the questions we received in regards to the hand holding, so you're good to continue.
Okay. So the last thing I want to show is again, this time is material. For this kind of game, when walking around here, we didn't want to have a camera obscuring and no camera. The problem with third-person cameras is always super heavy to have a proper, you have like obstruction, and if I collide with it, the camera goes close in. So camera of a third person is kind of an art for itself. And the camera and the oh, that's the wrong one. Let's go here. So the spring arm is already pretty cool and can handle already a lot of stuff, but normally you do stuff in addition. Like when you do the worm camera, you maybe want to change the FOV or something like that. So they're pretty good. I recently saw some pretty good GDC talks about camera. I can highly recommend to check this out if cameras are interesting for you. Just Google for GDC and camera and you will find a lot of cool stuff. So for us, that was not feasible in 12 hours to do a sophisticated camera. But we wanted to have a city where you run around. So we used assets for that. So this camera here is only like I clamp it, so I can only go this deep and this high. So that's the only thing I did for the camera itself. And the other thing I did with the camera is, depending on how much people I have, the camera is going far, is slowly lerping away. So now I have a camera is more far away than so now the camera is going back. So that solved already most of the issues, but one issue kept is the obstruction here. If you don't do cover clipping, then you have this. So here's something we did for material. It's not perfect, but basically what it does, it takes the position of the character and the position of the camera, and in between it's cutting in. So it, as I said, it's not perfect. You can see inside the model and stuff, but for us that was the fastest way to get this done. I can briefly show this material when I find it fast enough. So yeah, here is a material function for the opacity. So it's a little bit similar to the chicken before. So this is a mask material, and then I have a function here, and in this function there's the mask for it. So the character is writing again in a parameter collection his location. So this is how this shader knows where the character is without like casting and doing really crazy stuff to get the information in. The character is just every tick writing where he is. So I have that, and then it's mask out, and then it gets the distance to the camera and the absolute world position, subtracting some stuff, and then having at the end a sphere mask driven with this data and a radius, and that's basically all it is to that. And transforming here also the vector from world space to view space to use this. So but basically it's the sphere mask that is giving that. And that was the easiest, most straightforward way in our case. I think it doesn't hold up for a complete game, but at least it is a start, and you can go from there, and you could do other stuff with it. So he has other situations where, like, if I'm going like half in, then you have something like this. So yeah, it's not completely holding up, but again, a good example about thinking how to use where do you get the data from, what do you want to manipulate, and how you want to get it in. And yes, you can play it. Fortunately, it's an itch.io. We pushed this out. Yeah. I think it's called, I forgot what it's called.
We had this yesterday on
a
conversation as well. We were playing some games, and someone's like, yeah, the first game I made, and then he didn't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I forgot. It's not called Shooter Game, I can tell you that. 50 game camera mistakes, that is a talk. That's one of the talks. There are 2 or 3 good talks, but that one is really good.
Bob's Not Your Uncle was wondering, how do you manage the color changes of the people as they get attached?
Oh, that's absolutely random. I can wait a second. We can here make human pick up. Here is a pickup function. So he's getting pick up. Let me see how I do it. It's long time ago. How do we color him?
Oh, there it is.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, the vector parameter.
The vector parameter? That sounds right.
Enough. It was in the...
Here it is. So unfollow camera, I have a material. It's a dynamic material with a color parameter. And it's not... That's the reason why they all look so... what's the right? Pastel?
Yeah.
They're all a little bit pastel. The reason is just a random for RGB between 0.2 and 1. So absolutely random numbers. For green, it's 0 to 0.7. And then B is 0.2 to 1. So extremely extremely simple. Normally, I would maybe make a list of colors in an array and then pick from there to have a little bit more control over it. But we liked it. It fit to the style, so we have the Fresnel around the character, and then with this colors, we were actually pretty happy, so we stayed with that. Follow me, stay safe, Jam. Yeah, that's the right link. And Deke is Dennis will be happy now that you should download and check it out. So it's a complete game. It has music and stuff. So yeah, it was one of the fun things last year. I must admit, I really enjoyed this a lot. Yeah, that's the stuff I wanted to show here.
Awesome. We can continue. Or you can continue. I'm just sitting here telling you what to do.
You just jump in if you want to add something. Feel free. So, chat, what's the next one? Do we want to look at drag and drop, or do we want to take a look on a dungeon crawler? I call it Ear of the Beer Holder.
Ear, as in
ear. Yeah, like Eye of the Beholder was already taken, so
beholder. Okay, I thought you said.
Yeah, my German accent. I'm sorry.
I thought it was beer holder, which.
Yeah, the beer holder, a beer.
Beer.
Like a beer.
I was trying.
That's the name of that's how I named the project. So yeah, we can do that, or we can take a look at strange gummy bears. That's so we can either do physical assets, gummy bears, or we take a look at the dungeon crawler. So what does the chat say? Total Commander still alive. Yes. It says not registered. I know that's wrong. I have actually a version.
I think they just want us to make Ear of the Beer Holder. That's
yeah. That's
not today.
We do both anyhow. It's let's start here. So that's a project. Here I want to show an editor widget. So what I have here is a tile map. So it looks like that. And the cool thing here is this tile map can generate this tile map. It's a blueprint that generates this kind of grid. I did a little bit of C++ to load CSVs in and interpreting them. So I have the CSVs are just like zeros and ones or a 5 for a gate to load that in. And then I can, when I start this, like in this really old dungeon crawlers, I can move from grid point to grid point. Oh, I forgot that the sound is on. Yeah. Okay, let's stop this here for a second. So what it basically does is I have this tiles. The tiles know their neighbors. So that's a grid-based system. And I have so every neighbor, I'm using data assets to identify the neighbors. So I can always ask for up, and that gives me then the ID of the grid point. And to edit this was kind of a pain. So I could say here, I want a floor and then set next tile. So that's how I could carve this out. And that was too complicated for me. So I used the editor utility widgets. So let's run this. So I call this level design tool. And I can now click the stuff, and then it does everything under the HUD what I would normally do in the details. So I can like carve this out. Make some space here. And if I have carved it out, I could also say like, okay, let's do some more here. And then I can select it, and it's identifying, oh, this is a tile, or this is kind of a grid. So then it goes to floor, or if I select here, I can say like, let's have a door here, let's have a gate here. And then I can click the gate, and I can also say, let's set the state to open. So with this little thing, I can work like much faster. So now when I walk around here, let's open the gate. Here's my, oh shit, I forgot how. Okay. Yeah, so here's Here's a skeleton coming. Forget about him. Yeah, so I briefly want to show this because this I think it's one of the underrated features of the engine. You can make your life so much easier by using this. So I want to show that. So if I go to edit here, so that's the widget Plotidity widget editor, an editor blueprint widget. So I can. That's like the normal widget editor I'm using. UMG one I'm using for my in-game stuff as well. So I made this little setup, put some buttons in here, and I have a switcher. I have a switcher here, and I have different layout. So here's for the door, or here's for setting the floor, or here's for the gate. So that are sorted by index. And then the logic for this is not very. It's a little bit spaghetti because I went with a flow here. But basically, it's checking what is selected, and if it's a tile, then it's setting the coordinates and is switching to the right widget state. Coloring when it's a gate, and it's making these colors here. And then I have the buttons, and the buttons, for example. Here's the stuff for placing a gate, and then there should be for toggling the floor styles. So it's taking the tile. He knows which tile is selected. When I'm selecting, I'm taking this tile. The tile has all the information. I have the tile type. Sorry, and depending if it's a grid point or a floor, I'm switching between them, and then the logic is in the tile. So that is when I go here. Here's all the stuff like registering, spawning a new tile, which in my case is with walls or without walls. The walls know their neighbors, so they put pillars or not. I don't want to go too deep here. So this is the whole normal logic I'm using in many other places. So this is very lightweight. There's not much to it, and it took only a few. I think it took an hour or something to make this little tool. And instead of now, I could change it here. I could go here and then say, okay, I want a floor here, and then I set tile, which does basically the same like the tool, but it's much more convenient to just go here now and like carve my way in, select something, saying I want a door, selecting the door and set it to open. So that's it. So yeah.
Please go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I can interrupt you later.
No, you first.
All right, fine then. Some folks in chat might be wondering how you exposed a button in the details panel for the actor that initiates the event, which
is open, for example.
I meant the one set tile that you actually have exposed in the details panel for the actor.
Okay. That's easy. When we go to the tile and we say the set tile, how do you expose it? It's just call in editor. So if you select the function, you can say call in editor, and then it's available to you in the editor in the details here. So if I select now a tile, I have the set new tile button, which is really cool.
Thank you, Andreas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I just want really to highlight this utility stuff. I think it should be used much more. You can make your life so much easier with that. Yeah, so it's not only always about making the game, but also making it in a way that it is fun for you. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to touch the C++ part here, but I'm not a C++ programmer. I come from Lua. That's my language I learned years ago when I started 20 years ago making games. So I'm still like scripting and stuff. So I'm not really deep into C++, but deep enough to make a blueprint library here. So I basically, let's see, if I go, let's go to the, I can show a brief look, but it's also a little bit time ago that I made this. So here's my tile map. So here's all my logic about spawning all the tiles. So resetting the map, updating tiles in map, get index from coordinate, get coordinates in range, etc., etc. So it's all my helper functions to do everything with a grid. So this actor is asked, when I move forward, can I move forward? Is there I don't have physics or something. So when I move around here and press forward, the character controller is asking the map, can I move in this direction? And if I this is a skeleton. I'm really sorry.
We turned down the audio for it a little bit.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay, so it's only half the fun for the chat. Yeah, so this is all handled here. And I have one button that's called generate map from array. And here I can specify a map file, which is a CSV. And if I go here to the generate map from array, what it basically does, it's load file from string. And that is the blueprint library function I wrote in C++. That was super straightforward. You can even stitch it together by just finding stuff on the internet. Stack Overflow it together, and then it kind of works. But I give an extremely brief look here. If it loads up fast enough. I haven't tested this, so that wasn't really planned. But maybe people want to see it. So it's the C++ file. Here's a function. So I use a macro for that. I take the project contour directory. And then I'm loading the string in. So what I basically get is here in C++, I get a string, and this math, for example, I should move to C++. So he's now taking a look. He's breaking it down. So I get zeros and ones for filling out a tile or not. Again, I don't want to go too deep here, also because I might not remember all of it. It's a bit time ago. But at the end, it's spawning a grid point or a floor, depending on that, and it's spawning gates. And again, this place gate on tile in direction is a function that the Plutility, the widget utility, editor widget utility is always. I still love the name Plutility, Victor. Can't we still use it?
Well, it's different. It's important to name things.
Yeah,
with
I know.
Different names if they are different things.
Yes, I know. Okay. So this is the same functions I'm using here, or I'm using with my little widget. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see. I think we had one question here. If I can get to the right doc. Josu asked, can we look at how you formatted the CSV file?
Yes, sure. Yes. So content files. So the one we currently loaded in. Let's open. Now you have to see my. So this is how it looks like. So here you can see free. So the ones are the positions where a tile is. The twos are where I think the gate is north. A 3 is when the gate is on the right side. A 5 is where the gate is on the left side. I forgot, but something like that.
I think that answers.
Yeah. And I used the spreadsheet. Actually, I edited my first maps in spreadsheet. And the idea, the cool thing is, I can. Let's see if this is still. Let me see if this is still working. Maybe it's still working. I can change it in runtime. Oh, that's a torch. Can I still change it in runtime?
Well, you figured that out. I'm going to answer a question from Harris, who asked, is there a way to spawn an actor only in editor, such as a visual helper, and not on runtime? You can set actors and components to be editor only. I believe the spawn actor function would still run on runtime if you have it hooked up to begin player or construction script, but the actor itself would not exist in the packaged version of the game if you use editor only. It's a checkbox in the details for actor as well as the components.
Okay, so when I walk around here, I can actually press H and then he's loading a new map in. Unfortunately, this character is still there. Should have removed it. I'm sorry.
Joe saying that you can mute editor sounds.
Yeah, I know that. But it's a cool sound, right? Yeah, I can. The wall by. I got a little bit crazy. So come on, stop it. When we take a look at a wall, so this is a tile. That's how a tile normally looks like. Tile also has a roof, but the roof is, I have it off. He has a roof, but I switch it as a visibility off in editor, and it's only visible in game, so I can look inside of them. But the wall the tile consists of walls, and the walls consist of. You really have to appreciate this, Victor, now, because it took much too much time in this. The wall actually consists of bricks, and the bricks are randomly generated. So, yeah, that I don't know.
So the draw calls for your.
No, it's fine. It's all one material, and it's fine. But it's a bit crazy. So the whole dungeon, all bricks in the dungeon are actually generated procedurally. Don't do that at home, kids. That's not the best way to do it. But the cool thing is now, even if I have only actually 2 or 3 bricks. So I have this brick, I have this brick, and I have this brick, and they are randomly rotated. So they are rotated and differently placed, so it looks different. Okay. Yeah, fine. Cool. Any question left here?
Not in regards to the dungeon crawler, no. I know Bob's not your uncle asked a question about the audio, but we're actually going to cover that as well.
Yeah, the audio is the next thing. It's in the same project. So this is one of the projects I made on stream, and then someone on stream asked, when we made this character walking here, so I voxeled this character in Magica voxel, and then I got some animations in, and then when the chat saw him walking, I said, "It looks like he's walking over Lego. Can you make Lego?" So yeah, I just used the cube, scaled it up, did random colors, and used the foliage tool to scatter Lego around, and did the most hurtful thing you can have in life, which is a skeleton walking over Lego. And I want to show you how the audio is made. And the audio is made in a similar way like what we have seen with the camera shake before. So when we take a look at the walk animation for him, maybe at this point we really should go and I always forget where it is.
I've actually never tried to globally mute the editor before.
It's in the project or it's in the editor settings. I always forget.
I would think editor.
Yeah, editor is more likely. So here it is, enable editor sounds and allow audio playback and so, but I keep it running, right? We need it. So here, when he's placing his food, I'm just playing a sound. That's it. So it's just a simple notify for sound. So you add play sound here, and then I add a cue in the sound cue. The sound cue is just random taking some of them. So, and these are actually recordings from a German bigger streamer. And I recorded him on a conference where I made a small game, and that's why. So I misuse them here. I didn't even ask if it's okay to play them. So I think, yeah, it will be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's that.
I thought it was you doing Onomatopoeia, actually.
Nah. Yeah, and I mean, you can go further here. You can have a modulator, for example, to have more variation to say, okay, pitch up and down and volume, and we can go crazy. That's right. That sounds much better. Let's try this. Perfect. I think we improved it today in stream. Yeah. Let me try something else. What if we put it really low? Victor, what's happening now?
I actually don't have monitoring of your.
Oh, you don't hear it?
Oh no, I don't.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so now we made a cow walking over Lego. Yeah, nice. So that's how you do funny games. And that from a German. Okay, let's move on.
All right, next.
Next. So chat, you're still there? All fine?
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. Ship it. Yeah. We ship it. I think we should sometimes just release stuff earlier. I mean, we general as game developers.
I don't remember
I have so much random stuff on my hard drive. When we talked about doing this stream, I was wondering what to pick, and then I was going through all my old projects and was like, oh shit, this was fun, and this was fun, and this was fun. You should, and instead of like having it decaying on my hard drive, sometimes even that should be released.
That's why I try to save whenever I package, whether it's for testing or to send it to someone else to test. I try to upload them occasionally onto a cloud server just to keep them for posterity's sake, because you never know when you might want to be. You know what? Like I made that once, and it's so nice and easy if you have a binary that you can just you can just run it. You don't need to make sure you have the right editor version and the plugins and everything else. You can just go ahead and play the packaged version of it and sort of like, this is what we did, and oh, it feels this way, and like, oh, okay, cool. Work off that.
Yeah, I have a plugin now with some stuff like a main menu and in-game pause menu and stuff. So and with like, I'm using this material. So you see in many of my prototypes, you see this material. It's a world aligned material. With a grid, I can easily adjust, so I can get a feeling for height and stuff. So that's something, and I have a plugin by now with like a basic, like when I start a new kind of prototype, I have already everything in. I'm using regularly. So yeah, for this one, physic asset is something funny, and I'm currently working with a physic asset for another project. And then I was wondering what to do it with for the stream, and I wanted to do something chill and fun, and I came up with the gummy bears. So here's a gummy bear. It looks nice. We will take a look how it's done. So when I play, it's like, here he is, and when I hit him, he's falling to the side. So it's a really jello gummy bear, which is nice. Even better is not to have one gummy bear.
Andreas, can you disable your stream overlay?
My stream overlay?
Channel? Yeah, it took me a while to realize that. But Loresh asked, well, what's the acht bar? Because we can see when someone falls on your channel that you're hosting us from.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry.
And that's the one time you get to say that word.
I'm sorry. I'm double sorry now.
Double.
That's something we didn't test before. Okay, so back to our gummy bear. That's more interesting. So here we go. We need definitely a cannon with with gummy bears. So I find it pretty satisfying to see them hit mid-air. So I could watch this quite long.
I think it only happened once, right?
Yeah, but it happens. It's random, so the velocity, the force I get is complete. There, oh, nice. It's kind of nice, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I made it, and then it was kind of satisfying to watch, and it's holding up pretty well. I think that's the most expensive material I ever made. And this gummy bear is a skeletal mesh with a physic acid. And I think it has 16 bones or so. So it is
bodies as well.
Sorry?
Do they have 16 bodies as well?
Yeah. They have 16 bodies, so it is bad. It is really, and you see a little bit with. I take the most expensive translucent material, so you have a little bit of flickering, sorting issues, which is normal because in the way I did it. So that's not the way you normally should do it. But I was just going for the joke, so it is, and I had at the end 500 gummy bears on the scene, and it was still holding up pretty well. So we can even go on top of it.
Yeah, one would suspect that they would sort of, freak out a little bit and.
Yeah, no, that's. I took a little bit of time. Wow, gummy bears. I took a little bit of time to make the setup for the physic acid right, and have the right weights for the acids, and so the camera is getting a little bit crazy because the capsule here is moved around a bit. So no, they are not instanced. But I want to show it. Let's do I have? Okay, let's take a look at the gummy bear itself. So I made this gummy bear in Blender, and when we take a look at when we take a look at him here, his skeleton, he has this kind of spine. It's hard to say for him. And then he has left and right. He has some bones here. I can move around, and they have more or less influence on done with the skinning. So yeah, here it is. So that's the basic setup. And then I made the physic acid. So the physic acid I made in a way that I let's have all bones. I selected the bones I want to have it for. So normally when you create it, there is this tool, and it's automatically creating capsules from bones with a minimum size of 20 for you. That already helps. What I did in my case, I selected all the bones I wanted to have a body for, and then I generated the bodies. The next thing I did is for the bodies itself, for the different physics bodies, I moved them in place. And when you go down here in the capsules, I set the rotation and the radius and length by hand for one side, and like nulled them out so they are aligned to the bones very well, scaled them down. I placed the lower one with a box. So that's the reason why he's standing still up. And that's the heaviest one. So next what I did is, depending how deep they are in the chain, I changed the mass. So this is has the highest mass, and then the next spine point has less, and that has less, and that has less. That was helpful. Next thing I did is linear damping. I set to 1 and angular damping to 30 just to get the dimension right. So that's how fluffy or not fluffy how fast he's moving. And here's another thing I did, what I wouldn't recommend for a game you want to release. I increased the solver iteration. That's the reason why it's a little bit more stable, but it gets more costly CPU-wise. So you have to be careful with this. So I punched it up to it's 8 and 1, 8 for position and 1 for velocity iterations. So this is costly, but in my case it was okay. I just wanted to get crazy at least once. So that's what I did for the bodies. And then when we take a look at the constraints, so the constraints are all limited in linear, so they can only move a little, like 3 units left, right, up, down. And the angular, all of them have the same setting, so I modified them at once. They can swing a bit, they can twist a bit, they can twist a little bit less than they can swing. And then the jelliness, or how stiff he is behaving, comes with the motors. So I have a linear motor here, and I have an angular motor here with a strength of 500 for all of them. And then I tested long enough here. That's something I really love with our physics editor. You can test here without going back and forth between the game and try to make it run. So here, I first try as long as I can here until it just feels right. And it's so much fun. My daughter brought me some gummy bears at the evening because she saw me here and said, I deserve gummy bears now. So you get a hunger for it when you play with this a bit. So yeah, you can test it here to get a good feeling for it.
And it's a control, click and drag, right?
Right. So if I play, if I make right click and then I hold control, I can grab the bodies here. And this is how you can test how it feels. You can in physics here you can adjust also how much poke you do and how much draw you do. You can change the gravity, etc. So it gives you a pretty good control over what you want to test here. Here's one little thing I figured out, or like Jeremiah from Control Week told me. Very often when you work with this, you want to see the bones, and then you don't want to see the bones. You can actually here where you go to show, and like for example, go to the character and then the bones. If you hold Shift click on one of those, like then it's popping up the options here. So now I can switch between those without going always here down here and waiting for that to pop up. So I can customize a little bit my interface here, which is extremely helpful for this one. Or another one that's really good are the shortcuts here for select all bodies, select all simulated bodies, select all kinematic bodies, select all constraints. This is how I did this just within 1 hour. I think it didn't take more than 1 hour because I first did the big parts and then I did the smaller parts. Yeah, that's for the physics asset. And then let's take a brief look on this extremely expensive material. So the material of the gummy bear is translucent, which is already by itself a little bit more expensive, but it's subsurface. And the translucently is translucent volume. So this is one of the most expensive material you can make. But it gives me the option for roughness, which was nice, for the opacity, for the subsurface, and then I use the Fresnel to lerp between 2 values here to do the refraction, which is kind of nice because when you go close to it, it really looks like a gummy bear. And the refraction you get is really nice and subtle. So I really like that. But yeah, if I would do it for a game, I would maybe look for cheaper options, and I can also get closer when I tinker a little bit more with it and finding more optimal ways to do it. Yeah, but that's it. So the physics editor is great, and you can do really fun stuff with that.
Let's see. Mustafa Berke was asking, what's the difference between this and Anim Dynamics?
I think the Anim Dynamics you're talking about, the Anim Blueprint, the Anim Blueprint nodes, right?
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure if it's what we refer to as an animation blueprint post process or.
Yeah, let's.
I think the Anim Dynamics node, right? That's in the Anim Blueprint.
Yeah. So if we would make an Anim here, we're talking about the rigid body nodes, right? Those ones. This gives you more control what you want to simulate. So right now, this one, if I take a look on the bodies, let's take one body. they are all set to completely simulate all the time. So I have no logic, I have no animation, I have nothing. I'm just throwing that in, saying you are a physic body, and do fully full simulation. You want to go here when you do something like hair, you have your animation, and then you have a physic asset for the hair, and you make your physic asset for that, and then you enable that for a hair strand or whatever. After, for example, you did all your solving all your animations, and you have your final pose here, and then you do that. So there's different ways. You could also I could also in Blueprint, like dynamically, that's what the ragdoll stuff is doing. So I have the normal animation running, and then I enable simulation on the full body, and he's falling apart and doing whatever. And then I need to do logic to recover him.
Someone was wondering if you'd be able to share the gummy bear project, I guess.
I haven't thought about that. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing secret. There's no copyright stuff in it. I did all by myself. I don't know. Where do we share this kind of stuff? I have no idea.
Put them on the asset sharing section of the forums.
Okay.
And then the link will also paste the link inside the forum announcement post.
So I could do it if people think this is helpful. As said, you have to take this a little bit with a caveat. This is not how you would do it in a proper project. It's more like a crazy, funny thing to test a little bit how far you can go with physics assets and have the soft body kind of feeling.
Yeah, we can dive into that after the stream.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Did you have? I think there's another one.
Yeah, I have one left I can show. I have one left. The meat cube is really funny. Mr. Tapper just said it. I need this project to recreate the meat cube. I wasn't aware. I totally forgot about that. It's really long. So if people don't know what we are talking about, we're talking about Tim Sweeney presenting Unreal Engine 3. And there was a meatball, a meat cube, a soft body kind of thing. And I realized after I made the gummy bear that this could be really fun, but I couldn't today make it anymore to find a meat a material. Otherwise, you would have seen gummy bear with meat material. Would have been nice. But yeah. I don't know if people remember that. That's really a long time ago.
Clearly, some people do.
Yeah, it was great. I found the video yesterday of the presentation. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is about virtual textures. So here I have a project we have already seen on the stream, which is my Pirates project. But now, what I'm really happy about is, first of all, I have the new volumetric clouds and the new sky in, and I have the water in since this morning. So this is the water from 4.26. With my procedurally generated, what means procedurally generated, but random generated island here. But the main thing I want to show is my textures for this are not the most beautiful ones, I would say. So if I first go here and get rid of the grass, you can see what I'm talking about. So let's not have grass for a second. So this is how the texture looks like in flat. So it's a stylized texture. I forgot where I have it from. I'm pretty sure I have it from some kind of asset pack. And one really neat thing with the virtual textures is I'm using the virtual texture, writing that color into a texture, and then I'm using it to coloring the grass. So let's see how this is done. And the virtual textures give you great power, and you can do a lot with that. So here now I even have grass now on my rocks, which makes no sense, but whatever. I think it looks so much cooler in the moment you do that. So the grass is moving a bit, like normal grass does. I made it really long, so just to deliver the point. Yeah, so I want to show how this is done. So first we have a virtual. Let me see where it is. We have a runtime virtual texture volume we bring in, which is an actor, which is this one, the yellow one you can see here. And there I add a virtual texture, which is this one. So here I have it, and then I can say what is the content. So for me, it's base color, normal roughness, specular, and I can set the size. So that's that, and that is, and you can see it here in the preview. It covers, it shows the color of this island. So
Could you,
by the way, yeah.
Could you give us a brief explanation of what virtual texture is?
I'm not sure if I can do it really precisely and right. So what it basically does in this way, it's capturing the colors of the scene here. So it's like a 2D capture cam, right?
Orthographic maybe would be another way.
I think it's orthographic. I'm really not sure. So I shouldn't say something completely wrong here.
Live stream on virtual texturing that I can go ahead and
oh, you have?
In chat here. Yes, we did. And then
okay. Other people use it for, like, you could put your footprints in it, and then you can use it for displacement for snow or something like that. That's also another use case. So I'm more on the use case side. I'm better with that than explaining what it does. Oh, you have the link there. That's cool. Yeah, so it's writing the color of the in it, and then if I take a look on my foliage here, what it basically does, there's this handy node, runtime virtual texture sample, and that is linked to the virtual texture, and I just take the base color in. That's all. So it's really vertex color, simple grass. That's all what you might know from normal grass setups, and that gives me at the end this result. And again, I don't want to. It's not about showing this example. I hope that it sparks some inspiration for people saying, "Oh, this is the kind of technology piece I can use for my project." So yeah, that's how I use this here. And I just started tinkering with the water, but it's really cool. So underwater. But there is another really great. I actually used the stream from Short and You to get this running here.
Yeah, it was quite impressive.
My colleague Short made a really good feature video about the water, and there's a really good stream about it.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I saw yesterday that you actually had the old water, and then you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and add the new water. And
yeah, I did this really this morning. So it is. Yeah, I always. It gave me a little bit. This project is also a bit old. It was on 4.24 when I did this, so I had to move it over anyhow. And then I actually this morning decided, come on, I get rid of the old sky and atmosphere thing. I do the new one, and then I said, okay, let's try the water. And it was not too complicated to get it working. So Short showed a little bit a hack how it works with existing landscape, because right now the water is relying on the landscape, and it is generating landscape. So it doesn't get in my way, because here is the little island the water brings with it, and here's my island, and it works beautiful together. I'm just using this kind of that's just the way how I make it work together, because if I would move it here, it would destroy my island. But for me, this works very well. So, and it's a little bit less duct taped. But still, I'm looking forward. I talked a little bit with the guys working on the water, and they are about to decouple that, and then it will be even easier. But it was easier than I expected. So even the far side, so I now have something I didn't had before, which is a pretty far away water. So to have this close detailed water and have still water in the back and having nice sky and stuff. Yeah. Oh, and there's something we talked about that yesterday, Victor. That was the moment I figured I want to show that. I figured let's make a new level. Let's make a completely empty level.
Right. Yes.
So this is pretty cool. So completely empty level. So normally what I used to do is, okay, let's put a directional light. Let's do a sky cube. Let's do this and that. And then yesterday, and I really would like to make a Twitter post about that. Here is this environmental light mixer. And I think it was in the change list. I saw it on the list, but I didn't realize how cool this is. So I press here. Okay, so that comes up. Let's do minimal. That's okay. And then let's do like, okay, skylight, atmosphere light, atmosphere. Create also volumetric cloud. Let's change the intensity of the light here. So we are done. This is so okay. What's missing? Maybe a post process. Let's do an unbound process. So let's add that as well. What I used to do is exponential. I like to have control over this. So let's set this to some values, and then maybe also let's add a exponential fork. So yeah, nice. I'm done. So I didn't know that this exists, and this is awesome.
Yeah, I had never seen that, and you're just like Victor.
Yeah, and it goes further. I'm still investigating, but what's really cool is what I also like is you have one panel here, which gives you all the things on one side. So I don't switch between all those different actors now. And I'm on minimal, but you can go to normal and advanced. So then you have access to like everything in one panel. So I could put it on my second monitor now and then begin to tweak my scene. I really like this. And I think not many people know it exists. Yeah. So this is magic.
Joke. Cool. We
cool.
did prep another project as well, right?
Yes, that's the last one. And that's a special one where we need to chat. We need help from chat for that one.
So we are going to request your participation.
So now chat, now is your time. So what I about to show.
Oh, and we should probably clarify for the viewers on YouTube that participation will only work if you are watching the stream on Twitch.
Oh yeah.
Join us. You can go to twitch.tv/Unreal Engine and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
So what you see now is something stitched together from a lot of assets. So just to clarify, I use different animal packs. I use a pack for a nice forest scene, and I use a Twitch chat integration. So we will together go to a little forest here. So this is our little scene. We will meet each other here in a second. So when you begin to type something, it will spawn an animal for you. Okay, there are a lot of different animals, and I know some people from my community are here, so they know the commands. I will just fire it up, and then we see how it goes. So let's make this big. I change my character. I like this one. So right now, here's a board. So this is advertisement for our stream here. So I walk around here, and okay, sometimes it doesn't start. Let's start again. So here you go. So what's happening right now is if you write something, it's spawning a random animal for you. You can change the animal. There are a lot. Like there are cows, there's fox. I think I implemented by now 30 different animals. I don't have any moderator tools in this. For that reason, is you do not see the text you are writing, because Victor was a chicken and really afraid that that someone might come in the chat and write ugly stuff and we cannot moderate it.
Epic Games, the corporation, being live on Twitch.
Yeah, no, it's completely fine. So what I did is there is random sentences that you will speak. You can go. You are all sticking that together. You should go to different places. So, for example, you can go to a fireplace. So it's fireplace. All the commands are with exclamation mark. So exclamation mark fireplace, and you go to. I by the way, I have no. What I also didn't do is any optimization. So if we spawn out 1,000 animals, maybe the engine will not like that, because this is really 30 different skeletal animals with all own animations, with all own skeletons, with they have all own animation blueprints, etc. So you can go to fireplace, you can go to the board. So exclamation mark board brings you to the board, and then we can take a look there. There's also a stage. So you can do exclamation mark stage, then you go to a stage, and there's a barrel. So exclamation mark barrel, and the animals will go to a barrel. And then I have a little logic in it where the camera is that's what's happening. So the camera is going to positions where a lot of people gather. And then you can talk to each other. What you also can do is you can cheer. So if you do exclamation mark cheer, your character will cheer. You can look into the camera when you do exclamation mark camera. Your character will turn towards the camera. If you don't want to look to the camera, you can say not exclamation mark not camera, and you will look away from the camera.
Is it camera?
Cam. I think it's cam. Sorry, it's cam. It's not cam. Yeah. I don't have a full list of. So it's pretty active chat.
Yes. Let everyone know that I will be unable to take your questions right now.
Yeah. Please now put some questions in between. Yeah. So here's someone giving a speech. Nice.
It's I believe Willman 77.
Yeah, Willman 77 is giving a speech as a little rat. Yeah, I took random. There are really random things you're saying. So the commands are not displayed, but if you write anything in chat. Oh, and I forgot to check the tick box for it. Also tick when not on screen. So all the speech bubbles are there.
It seems like it's running okay though.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So I can also make you. I have a little bit of authority of this. So we can do things like I can make you all cheer. Like, yeah, look, like everybody's. How happy are you that Victor is on the stream? Yeah, woo, woo, woo.
Every week.
Are you looking forward for Unreal Engine 5? Yeah, look at how happy they are. So I can also make them run around. So there are some that got stuck maybe now. But one of the features I like most is I can change your appearance. So let's make you all like, this is nice.
Slice them.
Yeah, I can't slice them. So yeah, I'm a little old. Wow, it's pretty full here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a silly thing, but I like it because this is showing actually the potential of this engine. So this is something I did on the side. On stream, it is something that started as a platformer. So I wanted to make a third-person platformer, and then I found this nice plugin for Twitch integration, and I thought, let's test something. Yeah, and then it got high. I found this nice asset packs. I love them. These animals are all gorgeous.
Yeah, animations are great too.
Yeah. It's I think he's from Uruguay, the guy who made that. He has different animal packs. I think each has 5 animals or something like that, and each has own animations. It's really. I like the pig.
Oh.
Can the pigs cheer? Yeah. Look at this. Or like, okay, they are so different in sizes. It's really nice. It's a nightmare behind the scenes. It's really duct taped because I have to handle like 30 different animation blueprints. So I cannot retarget. It's not possible. They have all own skeletons, own animations, own everything. So it's
actually a question from Elfidio. They were wondering how you could deal with different skeletons, but having one animation blueprint with the logic.
No, I don't have one animation blueprint. Each has one. So in the moment, I have one character blueprint, and in the moment someone is entering a name like animal, like exclamation mark fox or something, I exchanging the mesh, the animation blueprint. So I have a data table for all the animals. And I'm mapping them. So if someone is picking one, then the table is looking, okay, this is a mesh belonging to it, this is animation blueprint belonging to it, etc., etc. And then each character has an own table for like the animations, like cheer. So if someone is writing cheer, I'm checking, okay, it's this animal, so I'm looking into that table and I pick this animation for him. It's a nightmare. It's nothing you would saint people would do. You only have to write in the chat. So normally in my stream, people writing stuff and small stories evolve around that. So people go to a fireside and then a bull is saying, "Hey Tiger, what did you have for food?" And people begin to talk about stuff. This is kind of fun. So little stories emerge from this, which I really like. I mean, now they say random stuff. Yeah.
So definitely, I'm wondering.
Okay, Elfidio is really, he doesn't want to look at it. He is turning around. That's what I meant. It's kind of emerging, kind of fun.
This is an example, right? I know in some other games, you have the opportunity to sort of spawn enemies for the players. There's all kinds of different ways that you can implement sort of chat interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, here. That's it.
Social, I guess. That's cool. I'm glad you suggested that we show this project off. We're not going to dive into how it's all put together. There's a little bit too much.
Yeah, it is, and there's a lot of. I admit I have some spaghetti areas here. I try to have it clean, but it was also something that was growing. It was more like, oh, can we do a stage? Oh, let's do a stage. So I can wait a second. I can show some things. Like I have a point of interest blueprint, and then I inherit from that. And that always has like this as positions. So at the beginning, I just positions them randomly. Now I have this one. So when you say fireplace, he's looking for a random fireplace, and then he's looking for a free position, and then someone is going there. And so after we made that, I figured out, okay, why not a stage? So someone is randomly going to this position and having to give a speech, and all the others are standing around. So yeah, that's one part. And if what I currently can't do easily because it's taking the camera away is I can walk around. I'm a normal third person character here, so I can walk around. So the camera system right now is taking control. Normally I don't have so many people here. So yeah, come on.
This is
don't stand here.
Like,
huh?
This is what a stress test looks like.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm super happy it is working so well, even with so many.
Mm-hmm.
I have no limitations. So if now 1,000 people would join, then it would try to spawn 1,000 characters. Yeah, but
take that as
nice. So let's see, Cody, what do you have to say? Give your speech, please. We're waiting. Okay.
A little shy, maybe.
Yeah.
Can we all go to the stage?
Nah, this is limited. Oh, no, I'm scared. Yeah, and for example, after 30 seconds or 60 seconds, if nobody is if you are not writing, the character goes to sleep, and the name disappears, but the character doesn't disappear. It's a bit hard to see where you are, because if you would see your text, then you ask where you are, and then you can see where you are. It's a little bit more complicated with so many people. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, there's a follow option, so you can follow people. So can you, when you follow me, we can walk a little bit around and see other parts of the.
Yeah. Exclamation point follow space AndyDev.
I think yes. So we can all walk together through the forest. Yeah, I think some people got stuck here now.
Yeah.
With exclamation mark reset, you can reset your character, but it might not help. I think they are blocking each other right now. I think I'm the only one who's not blocking. Yeah, it's still early. I started this just 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's a fun thing, especially when you can't meet people in person. I feel this is kind of it feels a bit like you're meeting someone at the campfire, and then you're talking about stuff. You can also roll, by the way. There's exclamation mark roll, and your character is rolling forward with some of them. I think the pig does not.
Oh, he did.
Some of the animations have root animation, and you can roll forward. Don't roll into the fire. Oh no, the fox is now burning. Yeah. We thought that's a nice ending for the stream. I mean, if you have any more questions, please feel free. Victor is easily seeing them in chat now.
Let me go through and see if we received any that we can tackle. Someone's asking what hardware you're running this on.
I have an E9 and a 280 Ti. And I think 32 gigabyte of RAM. No, I don't release this project. I don't feel comfortable with releasing it, because the problem is, I have a lot of streamers who already ask if I can give this to them, and I don't, because you have to have quite some knowledge about the engine. There's some stuff you have to configure and stuff, and when it goes wrong, then it's hard to find out, and my code is not the best. And so this is right now my little private thing. I don't feel comfortable with this.
DN2 was asking, what's the name of the Twitch plugin?
Let me see before I say something wrong. And that's the reason why I don't release it, you see? Yes. There's definitely stuff that's broken, and I haven't fixed yet. But maybe also because I switched channels for it. Okay. It is called... It's a plugin. Here it is, Twitch Integrator. It's only for chat, so it's not connecting to like cheers and subs and all that. So it's only chat, but it works quite well. And the setup is also pretty straightforward. I have a bot running here, and I don't show you my token, but you just register it, and then you connect to it. You add some commands, and then you have it gives you some callbacks, like on chat message, or like on command, and then this is a function you will never see. And then I process the commands, I do magic, and then your animal does stuff.
Every Good Work was commenting that you can implement this as a subsystem, and you can build it in C++ without the plugin as well.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you can.
Twitch provides all the documentation for the SDK.
Yeah, for me, it was more like I was working on that, and I stumbled over that more by accident and said, "Oh, let's try that," and that I didn't had the plan to make this. Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you, Andreas. I'm just quickly glancing through
dude.
Questions here that we received earlier. I think we're good, though. There's been some very specific ones to control rig, and I would highly suggest you go and watch some of the streams we've done with Jeremiah, Helge, and Gregory just a couple of weeks ago, actually, where we sort of go through control rig a little bit more in detail. Andreas also has a great video where he's showing off how to set up the little two-legged robot example that he was showing off at the beginning of the stream. It's on our YouTube channel.
I see one question about how I do the look at. I can briefly show that. That's simple. So the lookout of the character here, which you have seen before, I think that's what you are asking. So what it basically does, the flower is telling, if I get close to it, the flower is telling the character that you should look at it. So the flower is giving the look at location to the character. And that's something, this is all the code here, that's something I'm feeding into the animation blueprint. So when we take a look at the animation blueprint of him, then you find here is a look at, and if he's looking at something in the look at position. And in the anim graph, I have only this idle walk state machine, and after that I do control rig, where I have the control rig and I give the speed, the look at position, and if he's looking at something. So if we take a look at the rig that's getting this information, I have the look at here. So, and here is the whole logic for it. So I transfer the look at location to local from world. So that's important. Otherwise, you get complications. So you need to transfer it from world. And then I have my body bone. I do an aim math. I'm using this look at as a target, and this gives me the rotation. And here I do the clamping. So I break up the rotation to clamp in which how far he can move his head. And then if he's looking at something, I have an if here, then he's either taking the body position, which comes from the animation, or I'm taking this, and then I'm using an accumulate lerp, which is just providing that it's not like flipping to it, but moving to it with a certain speed. And that's basically it. That's from the control rig demo, yes.
Yeah, you're actually walking through how to set up the
yeah, not in this detail, but yes.
We can go through. Andreas, thank you so much for prepping the projects for us today, showing through, going over some of your prototypes and plans, ideas, and random happy accidents like the environment light mixer. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. It's always great when you sort of discover things in the editor that you didn't know existed, and they actually, someone thought of that, right? That like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, and then it gets implemented completely without knowing. It's very difficult to follow, even internally, of sort of
Oh yeah. I mean, the engine is big. There are so many use cases. There's, I would think that this environment stuff is coming from needs more from outside of games. So yeah, it is so different. Usage is so different stuff, and it's growing so greatly. It is, but I love this. If you tinker on something and then you find something like that, I also love. I just love it.
All right, time to do my outro spiel, and then we will go ahead and sign off here. Thanks everyone for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this little special episode, I guess.
Yeah, leave a comment, or if you have reach out, if you want to know anything, we are on social media, we are on the forum.
Yeah, so. I think you can see our Twitter handles right up there.
I don't know where it is.
It's above your head. Yeah, you're yeah, right there. Nice. It's perfect. Another good place to talk. Oh, there I got. I'm so. It's a good stream today. Thank you again, Andreas, for coming on. I was going to say the forums as well as unrealstackers.org are great places to discuss Unreal Engine. Whether you have questions or just generally want to talk, discuss, and hang out with other people who are interested in the same stuff that you do. If you are watching today for the first time and you're excited about getting into game development or producing film, media, virtual production, whatever it could be, go ahead and check out unrealengine.com, where you can download the engine for free. If you already have the Epic Games Launcher installed, you can just go ahead and go to the Unreal Engine tab and download the latest version, which is 426.1, right? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Is coming within due time. If you had something in particular that we talked about today that you weren't sure of when we talked about it, we are timestamping all of the VODs that go up on YouTube right now. And you can also, usually within a week after we go offline, you can find the full transcript uploaded to Box. There will be a link in the YouTube description. And you can go ahead and Control F and search for any keywords that you were curious about, either knowing how they were spelled or what to look for. As always, make sure you visit communities.unrealengine.com if you're interested in meeting people in your area. Clearly, there are no meetups happening right now during the pandemic. However, several of them have gone ahead to host virtual meetup groups. And so it's a good opportunity, I would say, in case you're not like physically close to where one is hosted. I'm sure you can just go ahead and join it and find some people who might be, at least within a couple of hours of you. And go ahead and join the virtual meetups, hang out, talk Unreal Engine. That's how a lot of us originally met, actually. It was through the Unreal Engine meetups. I've worked with many people, and then years after, I get to work with them again, or for the first time, and when we originally got to know each other throughout an Unreal Engine meetup. It's a good place also to just practice your presentation skills or show off some projects that are work in progress and get feedback on them. If you want to let us know what you're working on, we're always excited about that. You can use @UnrealEngine or any of our Twitter handles to reach us there. Another good place is the work in progress and release sections of the Unreal Engine forums. That is forums.unrealengine.com. And if you stream on Twitch, we do have an Unreal Engine, not category, but tag. You can go ahead and add that. And if you're curious or looking for more people who are streaming Unreal Engine content, you can go ahead and search for game development and Unreal Engine are the two tags that I usually use. Let's see if we can go ahead and raid someone today after the stream. I think Sky is on top of that. So always make sure you follow us on social media. Hit the notification bell on YouTube if you want to see our new uploads. We have some really cool stuff coming from the evangelists in the coming months. And Andreas, are you going to be on the stream next week as well? I think you are.
I am?
I think you are. I think you've been
nice.
To do that. Next week, we're going to cover, so a portion of the evangelism team is going to come on the stream to talk a little bit about launching a game. We will hear some stories from some of the evangelists who have shipped their own independent projects in the past, what they learned, things to think about, and how we would tie that into Unreal Engine. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about some of the legalese details about shipping with Unreal Engine. There isn't much to it, but there are a couple of important things to know about. And so we'll be covering that on the stream next week, which is awesome. Once again, Andreas, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime, which I realize is next week. A little bit different.
Yeah, so we do.
And thanks to all of you out there for watching. Hope you're staying safe in these chaotic times, and that you enjoy the stream. But we'll see you again next week at the same time, same day. Cool. All right. Let's wave goodbye to the camera, Andreas. Bye, everyone.
I'm waving.